In the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, nestled within the tranquil asteroid fields of the Epsilon system, the hum of 1,000 subdued voices suddenly fell silent. All eyes converged upon the central podium, where a tall, slender Tildorian, a species known throughout the known sectors for their rigid rationality and unwavering logic, stood poised to speak. Chair Vector cleared his scaled throat, a sharp sound echoing lightly around the hall. "Esteemed members of the Council," his deep, modulated voice boomed, "a momentous issue stands before us today. A species known as humans, from an unremarkable backwater planet called Earth, have caught our attention. For the first time in centuries, we must consider an expansion of our illustrious body." Murmurs spread through the assembly. It wasn't the prospect of welcoming newcomers that drew such surprise. The Council had rigorous protocols for such matters. Rather, it was the subject itself. Humans had only emerged onto the galactic scene within the last few decades. Their rapid technological development, outpacing many older races, was undeniable. However, their reputation for irrationality, chaos, and even violence was equally widespread. One representative, a feathered avian named Xyla, leaned forward in her plush seat. "Chair Vector, if I may, surely this is premature. Humans are barely acquainted with interstellar travel." "Indeed, Delegate Xyla. Such haste is unprecedented," Vector admitted. "However, reports from observation posts and trading vessels on the frontiers indicate that humanity will have developed FTL capability within a short time. We cannot afford to be caught unprepared." His piercing eyes surveyed the Council. "Therefore, it is imperative for us to determine whether their inclusion is beneficial or poses a dire threat." A ripple of agreement moved through the chamber, accompanied by an undercurrent of unease. Vector gestured towards a holographic console, and a luminous image of Earth appeared, swirling with blue oceans and wispy clouds. "Let us begin with the evidence," he declared. "Delegate Kyrak, you have studied this species extensively. Please, present your findings." Kyrak, a Xylorian, bulbous-headed with 4 compound eyes, rose to his full height. "Esteemed Council, I present Exhibit A, Early Human History. These creatures waged countless wars over trivial disputes, territorial squabbles, religious differences, even—" a shudder ran through his exoskeleton—"something they called sports." A chorus of startled clicks and buzzes filled the air. Delegate Xyla tilted her head. "Over games? Chair Vector, this cannot be accurate." "Regrettably, it is well documented," Kyrak confirmed grimly. "Humans displayed a willingness to sacrifice life and resources for such frivolities. It contradicts every principle of optimized survival." "Such destructive tendencies are deeply concerning," a booming voice declared. It belonged to a towering, 4-armed being from the notoriously warlike Krullian race. "If they fight each other so readily, what hope is there for peace in the galaxy?" Delegate Xyla bristled. "Perhaps, with guidance, humanity could learn to curb these violent impulses. After all, they also display acts of great compassion and selflessness." "Compassion?" Kyrak scoffed. "Their most celebrated figures, the ones they erect statues to, are usually warriors responsible for countless deaths." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of shouts and accusations. Chair Vector pounded his fist against the podium, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. "Order! Order! I insist!" Gradually, the noise subsided. "Clearly, history paints a disturbing picture," Vector said, his scales rippling with agitation. "Yet it also reveals resilience and an uncanny ability to adapt. Delegate Kyrak, please proceed to their recent activities." Kyrak nodded, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic image of Earth. "Despite their checkered past, humans have undeniably accelerated their technological progress in recent times," he conceded. "Their development of artificial intelligence, while still in its primitive stages, demonstrates a troubling potential." Chair Vector furrowed his brow. "Potential for what, Delegate?" "Unpredictability," Kyrak replied. "Their own archives contain countless stories where the creations defy logic, even turning against them. Should humanity attain a greater mastery of this technology, they could pose an insurmountable threat. A hush fell over the gathered representatives. Artificial intelligences gone rogue was a fear that resonated with many species who had endured their own technological upheavals. Yet a voice rose in defiance, a slender, bioluminescent being from a pacifist race known as the Illumi. Perhaps, Delegate Leal began tentatively, its gentle voice barely audible over the tense silence. Perhaps humanity struggles with its own creations precisely because of their illogical nature. Their drive to innovate pushes them into unknown territory, both for better and for worse. A Krullian scoffed. You speak of innovation as a virtue, Delegate Leal. To us, it spells unchecked ambition. Humans seem incapable of pausing to consider the consequences of their relentless pursuit of progress. Indeed, Kyrek added, seizing upon the momentum. Case in point, their manipulation of their own genome. While intended as a medical advancement, there are fringe elements among them experimenting with augmentations far beyond simple disease resistance. This opens a path towards deliberate biological warfare, a danger this council cannot ignore. An uncomfortable silence descended upon the room. Genetic manipulation was a complex and morally fraught subject that touched upon the scars of several past galactic conflicts. The Krullians, in particular, had only recently been censured for controversial bioweapons research. While I abhor intentional biological warfare, the potential remains, Delegate Leal countered gently. However, we cannot predict the trajectory of a species based on its darkest possibilities. They may yet find a wisdom that eludes them now. Wisdom gleaned through catastrophic error? Kyrek hissed. The fate of the galaxy is not a laboratory for such dangerous experiments. Enough! Chair Vector's voice once again echoed through the chamber. The destructive aspects of their nature cannot be denied, but to avoid considering their potential for good would be a failure of judgment. Let us examine the evidence of these contradictions. He gestured vaguely towards the shimmering image of Earth. Kyrek paused, mandibles clicking in contemplation. Very well. Human artistic expression, while often perplexing to non-human sensibilities, reveals a depth of emotion we rarely encounter among younger races. He touched the console and a strange melody filled the chamber, dissonant, haunting, yet oddly powerful. They call this music, Kyrek explained. Its purpose defies quantifiable analysis, yet they derive great meaning from it. Noise, the Krullian delegate rumbled disdainfully. Unpleasant noise. The chamber erupted in a strange symphony of chirps, squawks, and buzzing, a mixture of agreement, curiosity, and outright revulsion towards the sample of human music. Xyla, the alien delegate, cocked her head, her beady eyes focused. I find it unsettling, but it is undeniably expressive. Unsettling is an understatement, muttered a reptilian envoy, its scaled tail twitching in agitation. Their visual art is equally baffling. Crude representation and nonsensical colors. Their most revered artworks, to my understanding, are those that defy any semblance of form. This indicates a species that does not value order and efficiency, Kyrek exclaimed. To dedicate resources to pursuits so devoid of tangible utility. He shook his bulbous head in disbelief. But let us set aside the grand moral quandaries for a moment. Consider their everyday existence. They construct monstrous hives where billions of their kind swarm in utter disarray. Their very social structures are built on competition and acquisition, concepts that breed conflict on a massive scale. This obsession with the pursuit of, what do they call it? Entertainment. Kyrek continued, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. They expend precious time and resources on activities that serve no discernible purpose. Simulated conflicts, elaborate games, the creation of fantastical narratives, all divorced from reality. They even seek out experiences designed to induce fear and distress, he added, his voice dripping with disdain, as if they do not have enough true dangers to face in their own world. A wave of disgusted murmurs echoed his sentiment. Then there's their peculiar treatment of non-sentient creatures, Kyrak declared, shifting his display to focus on a human surrounded by a collection of furry, four-legged animals. These pets, as they are called, serve no practical function, yet consume considerable resources and are inexplicably elevated to the status of family members. The chamber erupted in incredulous sounds. The concept of wasting resources on creatures without practical application was considered the height of inefficiency by many present species. These humans, a delegate from an insectoid race clicked in consternation. Have they not yet learned the importance of maximizing the contributions of every member of the collective? Yet a ripple of surprise moved through the council when Kyrak shifted the display. The harsh, clashing images gave way to a breathtaking vista. It was a human rendition of their own system, rendered with an attention to detail that was, while illogical, undeniably beautiful. These contradictions continue, the Xylorian conceded. They possess a capacity for both grotesque and exquisite creations. Perhaps their illogical aesthetic sense is a byproduct of their emotional nature.
If they are ruled by emotion instead of intellect, the Crolian delegate growled, that could explain their erratic behavior. There could be no such place for such a species on this council.
And what about their acts of altruism? Delegate Leal's soft voice cut through the rising hostility. It flickered with an intense glow, a sign of heightened emotion among the Illumi. Humans routinely risk themselves to aid those in peril, even those of other species. This selflessness, is it not the cornerstone of a civilized society? A heavy silence fell as Leal's words echoed through the chamber. Some delegates averted their eyes as if confronted with a truth they wished to deny. Kyrak bristled. Isolated incidents do not represent a consistent pattern of behavior. Indeed, for each act of heroism, there are countless examples of needless cruelty. Look at the state of their planet. Another holographic image replaced the idyllic landscape. Continents were scarred with sprawling megacities, barren wastelands and choking plumes of smoke. Pollution swirled in once pristine oceans. They ravage their own home, Kyrak said. This is evidence of a species that lacks the foresight to ensure its own survival, let alone contribute to galactic stability. Yet, Scylla interjected hesitantly, there are recent initiatives among them, however rudimentary, aimed at mitigating these disastrous effects. They strive to correct past mistakes. Could this not indicate an emerging awareness? Before the debate could reignite, a booming voice echoed through the chamber, silencing the assembly.
I heard they tamed the Groks!
Whispers erupted, spreading like wildfire. Chair Vector slammed his fist against the podium, instantly restoring order.
Silence, he thundered. We will not devolve into unfounded rumors.
He glared at the assembly, his voice low and dangerous. Delegate Kyrak, if you have concluded your presentation, it is time for the council to begin its formal deliberations. A tense energy filled the grand chamber. Kyrak retreated to his seat, his mandibles working nervously. Every eye was now fixed on Chair Vector, who stood motionless, his formidable presence radiating an air of solemn authority. The evidence is undeniable, he began, his voice echoing with carefully contained power. Humanity is a paradox. A curious blend of brilliance and barbarity, innovation and recklessness, compassion and cruelty. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle upon the delegates. While their technological advancement warrants our attention, it is their unpredictability that represents the greatest concern, Vector continued. Their defiance of logic, their volatile nature, these traits make them a risk we cannot afford. They do not yet possess the wisdom or stability essential for membership within this council. A ripple of agreement moved through the assembly. The Crolian delegate rumbled in affirmative, while others nodded in silent support. Even Delegate Xyla, the most sympathetic to the human cause, wore an expression of troubled resignation. Yet a flicker of dissent glowed within Delegate Leal of the Illumi. Respected chair, the gentle being interjected, its bioluminescent pattern swirling with unease. Wisdom is often born from trial and error. Should we deny humanity the opportunity to learn from their mistakes? To evolve alongside us?
And how many costly mistakes shall we tolerate? The Crowley countered, his voice dripping with scorn. They are like a young predator, unaware of its own strength. Left unchecked, humans will wreak havoc across the stars. A heated exchange erupted, mirroring the fundamental divide that resonated across the Galactic Council. Those in favor of caution argued that humanity must first prove their commitment to peace and rationality before any invitation was considered. Others, like Leal, maintained that inclusion and guidance were the only ways to ensure such potentially potent species would not become a grave threat. Chair Vector listened impassively, his scale features unreadable. When the arguments finally subsided, he raised a commanding hand for silence. "Delegates," he announced, his voice resonating with finality, "after extensive review of the evidence and thorough debate, the Galactic Council has rendered its judgment." An almost palpable tension hung in the air as all eyes fixed upon the Tildorian chair. "Humanity, at this present time, presents too great an enigma. Their behavior reveals a species at odds with the principles this esteemed council upholds. We cannot jeopardize the hard-won stability of the galaxy by extending membership to a race that has not yet proven its readiness." Despite the formality of the statement, a muted gasp rippled through the chamber. This wasn't merely a rejection, it was a declaration. Humans were to be treated not as potential brethren, but as a force of nature, to be observed, studied, perhaps even contained, but not welcomed. "However," Chair Vector continued, his voice taking on a subtle edge, "isolation breeds suspicion. Continued monitoring of this species is deemed essential. The Council shall appoint an observation task force to study human development, remaining vigilant for any signs of change, be it towards a more harmonious path or further descent into disorder." A quiet relief settled among many delegates. Action had been taken, a measure of control asserted over the human anomaly. Yet Delegate Leal's bioluminescence dimmed, casting the Illumi in a faint, melancholy light. As the assembly dispersed, the conversations swirling within the grand chamber were subdued, thoughtful. Humanity had been cast as an outsider. Their future within this galactic community was uncertain. Yet, within a secluded corner of the Epsilon system, tucked away among unremarkable asteroids, a clandestine flicker of interest emerged. Several delegates, including a fascinated Xyloran scientist and a quietly determined Illumi, lingered behind, exchanging conspiratorial glances. Perhaps some concluded the official decision was not the final word on this matter of humanity. Beneath the azure skies of Earth, far removed from the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, a group of intrepid explorers gathered in the control room of the International Space Exploration Agency. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and a hint of tension, as the team prepared to review data from their latest deep space probe, Voyager 3X. Dr. Elena Morales, the mission's lead scientist, adjusted the main display to show a series of encrypted signals recently intercepted by the probe. "These aren't just anomalies," she declared, her voice steady despite the underlying excitement. "They're structured, patterned in a way that suggests intelligent origin." Her team, a diverse assembly of astrophysicists, cryptographers, and xenobiologists, leaned in closer, their eyes locked on the screen. The data represented something unprecedented, potential evidence of advanced alien civilizations. As they began to decode signals, an undercurrent of debate emerged, mirroring, in a smaller scale, the discussions that had taken place among the stars. "Could this be the proof we've been seeking?" pondered Dr. Akira Tanaka, the project's lead cryptographer. "Evidence that there's intelligent life in the universe?" Yet with excitement came a ripple of concern. Dr. Lucia Nicomo, the team's xenobiology expert, raised a critical point. "We must proceed with caution. Discovering other life forms is one thing, but intelligent, possibly far superior civilizations? We need to consider the implications. The moon dogs were bad enough." As the team worked tirelessly to unravel the messages, they stumbled upon a sequence of data that suggested not just the existence of alien life, but a highly organized interstellar community. The complexity and sophistication of the communication patterns hinted at something far beyond anything humanity had imagined. Dr. Morales stood back, absorbing the revelation. "This changes everything," she said quietly. "Our place in the universe, our understanding of life beyond Earth, our future.
The Discovery team, aware of the monumental nature of their findings, debated their next steps. Should they make their discovery public, igniting a global conversation about humanity's role in the cosmos? Or should they first seek more evidence, perhaps even attempt to initiate contact? As they deliberated, a shared realization emerged. Their discovery was not just scientific, but profoundly philosophical. Humanity had always wondered about its place in the universe, crafting stories and myths about the stars. Now faced with the reality of a galactic community, they confronted the dualities of wonder and fear, curiosity and caution. In a bold move, the team decided to launch a clandestine project codenamed Galactic Whisper, aimed at establishing a discreet communication channel with the galactic entities. Using a combination of the decoded signals and humanity's most advanced technology, they crafted a message of peace and inquiry, a tentative hello to the universe. Back on the Galactic Council, unbeknownst to the humans, the decision to monitor Earth more closely led to an unexpected outcome. The Observation Task Force detected the Galactic Whisper project. The initiative, so full of hope and vulnerability, sparked a wave of reconsideration among some of the delegates. In a secluded meeting room, a small group of council members convened, led by the Xyloran scientist and Delegate Leal. "Perhaps we were too quick to judge," the Xyloran mused. "This Galactic Whisper project shows a level of humility and eagerness to learn. Isn't that the essence of wisdom?" Delegate Leal, glowing softly with a hopeful light, added, "In their quest for understanding, they've reached out to the stars, not with arrogance, but with curiosity. Perhaps it's time we reconsider our stance." As Earth continued its orbit, unaware of the cosmic discussions it had spurred, humanity stood at the brink of a new dawn. The Space Discovery team, their spirits buoyed by the potential of their covert endeavor, looked to the stars with renewed determination. In the vast, silent expanse of space, a conversation was about to begin, a dialogue that could bridge worlds and transform the galaxy's understanding of itself.